The author Charles Bukowski was born in 1920 in the Weimar Republic, which is now Germany. He immigrated with his family to America in 1923, and they moved to Los Angeles in 1930, which is where he grew up. He had a dreadful childhood. His father abused him physically on a daily basis. He had a really horrible case of acne that was disfiguring, and English was spoken with a really strong German accent, and because of the acne and the accent, he was bullied at school every day. So just a lot of things messed up in his life. He worked all kinds of odd jobs, and at the same time he was writing short stories and poetry, submitting them to various small magazines published by small publishers. And today we're going to review one of his books that I just read recently. It's Notes of a Dirty Old Man by Charles Bukowski. Hello, my fellow readers. My name is Greg, and this is Ghost Readers in the Sky. In 1969, the small publisher John Martin contacted Charles Bukowski. He called Bukowski the new Walt Whitman, and he convinced Bukowski to quit his job at the post office to start writing a novel and to write a weekly column for Martin's underground newspaper in Los Angeles called Open City. The name of the column was Notes of a Dirty Old Man. And this book, this compilation, is his columns put together. So it's essays, it's short stories, it's a mix of this and that, all of which were published in Open City in the late 1960s. Bukowski drew from incidents in his own life, and he wrote a mixture of autobiography and fiction, tightly blended together. His work covered topics like poverty, excessive drinking, prostitution, gambling, and the evils of the 9-to-5 job. When Bukowski writes, he writes in short sentences, in blunt sentences. He wants to keep the words moving, never wants it to be boring. He says the words should go bim, 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 bim. And it's fiery, and it's visceral, and it makes the reader feel something. The book is put together with no titles on these articles, no publication dates, just a separation between articles, no chapters, just a separator between each column. Bukowski's tone can be bitter and angry, but it seemed to always have some sly humor mixed in. And these stories, as he's telling them, they all seem plausible or at least possible, even though we know there's a lot of fiction mixed in. And I think it's tough to tell, especially just by having this single book in hand. It's almost impossible to tell what's drawn from real life and what's pure fiction. I'd like to read a couple of passages to you just to give you the sense of what Bukowski sounds like. I've got an old saying. I make up old sayings as I walk around in rags. Knowledge without follow-through is worse than no knowledge at all. Because if you're guessing and it doesn't work, you can just say, shit, the gods are against me. But if you know and you don't do, you've got attics and dark halls in your mind to walk up and down in and wander about. This ain't healthy. God just didn't pay the rent or come up with that bottle of wine, no matter how much they hollered or got their last clean clothes dirty on the floor. God said, wait. And it's hard to wait when your belly is empty and your soul don't feel so good. And maybe you'll only live to be 55. And the last time God showed up, it's almost 2,000 years ago. And then he just did a few cheap carnival tricks. Let some Jew outfox him, then blew the scene. A man gets GD tired of suffering. There are parts of this book that are more humorous. There are parts of this that are more serious. I would never say Charles Bukowski is someone who should be emulated, but I think there's a lot to learn from him. If you are already a reader who enjoys the works of, say, Eve Babbitts and Joan Didion, and maybe some of that early Cormac McCarthy, I think you'd really like Charles Bukowski. And I think Notes of a Dirty Old Man is a great place to start. I find Charles Bukowski a fascinating person who makes a fascinating character in his own fiction, who doesn't hide his flaws. While I don't know that I would ever like to spend much time with him, be his friend, I don't drink anymore, but when I did, I don't think I ever would have gone drinking with him. But his writing is intense and visceral and absolutely worth reading. That will wrap up this review of Charles Bukowski's Notes of a Dirty Old Man. These columns were written for the magazine Open City, primarily in 1969. So I hope you have enjoyed this one. I hope you'll tune in for future reviews. And until next time, My name is Greg, and this is Ghost Readers in the Sky.
Yippee!